Are you a real estate investor looking to sharpen your skills or a newbie looking to become one? You're in the right place. Welcome to Where Should I Invest? Real Estate Investing in Canada with your host, Sarah Larby.
You are door knocking then for your clients. Is that what it is?
So unfortunately, I normally do it for clients because you know that saying, it's like if you go to an electrician or tradesperson's house, theirs is the last one to get done. Mm-hmm. I started recently door knocking for myself actually, because I've had such great success at it and I want all of our clients to succeed. But then I was like, wait a minute, these are really great deals. I need to do that for myself. So yeah, I'm getting out of that habit and just focusing in on the clients.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Awesome. It gives you different opportunities. Obviously off market is always, especially if you're doing it by yourself, I think it's always going to be an opportunity to get better deals that not 10 people are fighting over. Jenny, any other insights or tips on how, people that are looking to invest in BC and Vancouver can go about doing that?
Yeah, a couple of them. I'm going to expand on what Toni said. Not just having a bad tenant, but don't ignore properties that require a lot of work. So a lot of people love the shiny faucets and the clean floors, and there's not a lot of properties that are in distress order here. So I would look at properties that have been previously a grow up or perhaps a stigmatized property, where these hidden gems are often ignored or kind of off the cusp of off the radar of many buyers, because they don't want to deal with the headaches. They don't want to deal with the environmental issues that come with grow ops or the spirits that may have been left behind in the properties. But I know it may seem like a headache, but it can be a very great deal. And whether it be just hiring a home renovator or a feng shui master to kind of cleanse the space, I think you can actually benefit from some of those properties that are often ignored by kind of the people that want all the check boxes marked off on their list of properties. Another idea is not to have a long laundry list of things that you want in your home. So for example, if a unit doesn't have a washer dryer, but the potential to add plumbing for a washer dryer, so those, often people want a home with in-suite laundry, but if there's a potential to add that in the future to add value to your home, then that's just another thing that maybe are often missed when you're doing a search for a home in Vancouver.
Good points.
Yeah, great tips. Now you're talking, investors, and I'm just curious because obviously, we hear investors in Vancouver might not be, local, but you guys are probably seeing it and working with investors. Like, is there a big proportion of investors that are not living in Vancouver and they're just looking to deploy their money from different countries?
I can comment on this, Toni.
Sure, go ahead.
After, selling a lot of pre-sales, the idea of international buyers or immigrants buying is actually not as hyped up or exaggerated as what the government makes it to be. A lot of our buyers here, investors, they actually have a home, or they have PR status in Canada, in BC. So they tend to, kind of vacation, maybe kind of off season, maybe when it's winter here, go back to family, but then they're home based and they have family members that actually live here locally, where they do have ties and they come back quite often. So I would say maybe some of their funding is offshore and they're bringing it into Canada because that's where maybe some of their businesses are coming in, and they're able to invest in real estate in Vancouver. But I would have to say that they do have permanent residency status. They have ties in Vancouver, and the investors are often, there's a kind of this gray space where they may potentially live in it, or they have the option to have a family member live in it, or they may rent it out. So there's a lot of options that they kind of allow themselves that leeway to have and not really be set on it's just an investment and they're never going to come into Vancouver to live in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, no, I always like felt like for Ontario anyways, they always blow up these numbers as well. I don't know Vancouver as well as you both do. So thanks for the insight.
It's an
I was
easy,
gonna go ahead.
pointing fingers at them because we're blaming them for property value increases. But at the end of the day, we just don't have enough inventory to match the demand of our buyers, and we just can't get the permits out fast enough. We don't have enough trades in the market to help build fast enough. So that's where that pipeline is. It's stuck there. It's not because of our immigrants that are coming through.
I was also going to add to that. Almost all of our business, they're local. There's a lot of local money from people that have grown up locally, generationally as well. So there's intergenerational wealth. And I think that that's definitely not discussed in the media.
Yeah. So it sounds a lot like Ontario. So let's take BC as a whole, because, again, Vancouver is not the be all and end all. It is not the main, market necessarily where people can make money. But, other than Vancouver, like what are some of the, maybe areas where as an investor, whether you're local or not local, that you might want to consider and start doing some, analysis on?
Do you want me to answer?
Sure.
This one? Sure. Okay. One sec. Sorry, guys. Excuse me. Okay. So there are some areas, like for example, Prince George. I don't know if you guys have heard about Prince George in British Columbia at all. Those are cash flow positive. You can buy cute little houses up there. Actually, the prices have gone up actually since I checked last month, because we had a bunch of clients purchase up there. And of course, the prices just went up again. But a few months ago, you were able to buy a house out there for $325,000. Great little investment property, definitely cash flow positive. So you'd be up around $1,800 a month, minus all of your expenses. Pretty good. You can't get that in Vancouver. And then another example would be, so looking for these areas outside of the mainstay communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some possibilities as well if you wanted to do apartment buildings and things like that, but they're going to be further off the grid as well. Not completely, but those would also be on like a Vancouver island, on the other side of the island, where they're just starting to build larger communities. Those are cash flow positive as well. What else do I have on here? Oh, Port Alberni. Port Alberni, also on the island. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it was a little mill town. And then since then, it was by Macmillan Bloedel in the 80s, and then they closed it down. But it's had a revival. Most specifically, I think, because all of the outskirts from Vancouver proper, like you have people moving out of Vancouver, and then the Vancouverites moving further out to the Fraser Valley, and people from the Fraser Valley moving to Salmon Arm or whatever. So it's kind of like concentric ring theory, but yeah, there's some really good deals. Just have to know where to look.
Absolutely. Now, what do you think, like, obviously every area has strategies, right? Like, some areas work better for flipping, some areas work better for buy and hold. I think you mentioned a couple that, you can kind of just buy and rent out. Some are better for conversions, some are better for short-term rental, long-term rental. Like, are you able to maybe just share some insight on, which markets might be most conducive for what and why?
Jenny, do you want to take that one?
Sure. I would have to say, first of all, let's take assignments on a broader perspective, because assignments, being in pre-sale, I definitely have seen every project that I've worked on over the past 19 years, every buyer of mine have benefited from buying something that is 2 to 3 to 4 years out, and they've been able to grow their equity without really lifting a finger. And so for those that don't often invest in assignments, is typically you're buying from a developer, and what you want to try to do, I don't like to use the word flipping, but you're kind of flipping the home, but on a contract basis. So you haven't completed on the property yet, but you're essentially selling your contract to another buyer. And so it's hard to really market an assignment. And so that's why it's this hidden gem where the benefit is that you're not competing in multiple offers. And by being able to find the right assignments that work for you that perhaps are, the first buyer, which we call the assignor, has kind of sat on it for a couple years.
Thanks so much for listening to Where Should I Invest with your host, Sarah Larby. Make sure to listen in next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of Where Should I Invest?